Welcome to Creepy, the best horror storyteller on YouTube.
Part 1.
I had just moved into a new apartment in a quiet suburb of Boston. It was a cozy one-bedroom unit on the third floor of an old brick building. The rent was cheap, the location was convenient, and the landlord was friendly. I thought I had found a great deal. The only thing that bothered me was the locked door in the hallway. It was right next to the bathroom, and it had a sign that said storage. I asked the landlord about it, and he said it was just a small closet where he kept some of his stuff. He said I didn't need to worry about it, and he gave me the keys to the other rooms. I didn't think much of it at first, but as the days went by, I became more and more curious about what was behind that door. I wondered why he needed to lock it and what kind of stuff he had in there. I also noticed that the door had a small gap at the bottom, and sometimes I could hear faint noises coming from inside. They sounded like whispers, or sighs, or scratches. One night, I decided to try to open the door. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't resist. I took a paper clip and bent it into a makeshift lockpick. I inserted it into the keyhole and twisted it around, hoping to hear a click. I was surprised when the door opened easily, without any resistance. I pushed the door open and peeked inside. It was dark, and I couldn't see anything. I reached for the light switch, but I couldn't find one. I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight. I pointed it at the room and gasped. It wasn't a closet. It was a whole other room. A secret room. The room was small, but it was filled with strange things. There was a wooden table in the center, covered with candles, books, and jars. There was a large mirror on the wall, with symbols and words painted on it. There was a closet on the other side, with a padlock on it. There was a rug on the floor, with a pentagram on it. There was a smell of incense and rot in the air. I felt a chill run down my spine. I realized that this was not a storage room. This was a ritual room. A room where someone practiced dark magic. I wondered who it was and what they did in here. I wondered if it was the landlord or someone else. I wondered if they knew I was here and if they would come back. I wanted to get out of there, but I was also drawn to the room. I wanted to see what was in the books, and the jars, and the closet. I wanted to know what the symbols and words meant. I wanted to know what the mirror showed. I walked into the room and closed the door behind me. I told myself that I would just take a quick look and then leave. I told myself that I was safe and that nothing would happen. I was wrong. As soon as I closed the door, I heard a loud thud. I turned around and saw that the door had locked itself. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. I tried to pick the lock, but it wouldn't work. I tried to kick the door, but it wouldn't move. I was trapped. I panicked. I screamed for help, but no one heard me. I banged on the door, but no one came. I was alone, in a secret room, with no way out. I looked around and saw that the room had changed. The candles had lit themselves, and the books had opened. The jars had spilled, and the contents had crawled. The closet had rattled, and the padlock had broken. The rug had shifted, and the pentagram had glowed. The smell had worsened, and the air had thickened. I felt a presence in the room. A dark, evil presence. A presence that wanted me. I looked at the mirror and saw a face. A face that was not mine. A face that was twisted and scarred and smiling. A face that spoke to me. "Hello, there," it said. "I've been waiting for you."
Part 2.
I stared at the face in the mirror and felt a surge of fear. I recognized the face. It was the face of the landlord. The landlord who had rented me this apartment. The landlord who had lied to me about the secret room. The landlord who had practiced dark magic in here. "What do you want from me?" I asked, trembling. "I want you to join me," he said, his voice distorted and sinister. "I want you to be my apprentice. I want you to learn the secrets of the dark arts. I want you to help me summon the ancient ones. I want you to be my sacrifice." I shook my head and backed away from the mirror. "No, no, no. I don't want any of that. I just want to get out of here. Please, let me go." He laughed, and his laugh echoed in the room. "You can't get out of here. You can't escape me. You are mine now. You have entered my domain, and you have activated my trap. You have no choice but to do as I say." He reached out his hand from the mirror and grabbed my arm. His grip was cold and strong, and I felt a jolt of pain. He pulled me towards the mirror, and I tried to resist. I screamed and clawed at the glass. I looked for something to break the mirror, but there was nothing. I was helpless. He dragged me into the mirror, and I felt a sensation of falling. I fell into a dark abyss, and I saw flashes of images. Images of blood, and fire, and bones. Images of rituals, and sacrifices, and demons. Images of him, and me, and them. I landed on a hard surface, and I opened my eyes. I was in a different place. A place that was not of this world. A place that was hell. I looked around and saw that I was in a large cavern. The walls were made of stone, and the floor was covered with skulls. There were torches on the walls, and a huge altar in the center. There were symbols and words carved on the walls and the altar. There were chains and hooks hanging from the ceiling and the altar. There were bodies and parts on the floor and the altar. He was there, too. He was standing on the altar, holding a knife. He was wearing a black robe and a mask. He was smiling and chanting. He saw me, and he stopped chanting. He pointed the knife at me, and he spoke. "Welcome, my dear. Welcome to my sanctuary. Welcome to the end of your life." He jumped off the altar and walked towards me. He grabbed me by the hair and lifted me up. He dragged me to the altar and threw me on it. He tied me to the chains and hooked me to the hooks. He cut me with the knife, and I bled. He laughed, and I cried. He raised the knife above his head and prepared to stab me. He said the final words of his spell. "By the power of the Dark Ones, I offer you this soul. Accept this sacrifice, and grant me your favor. Open the gate, and let me enter your realm. Hail! Hail! Hail!" He plunged the knife into my heart, and I died. He waited for a moment, and then he heard a sound. A sound that was not his laugh. A sound that was not my cry. A sound that was something else. A sound that was a roar. He looked up, and he saw a sight. A sight that was not the altar. A sight that was not the cavern. A sight that was something else. A sight that was an eye. A huge, red, glowing eye. An eye that filled the whole ceiling. An eye that belonged to something else. Something else that was not him. Something else that was not me. Something else that was them. Them that were the ancient ones. Them that were the dark ones. Them that were the evil ones. They had heard his spell. They had seen his sacrifice. They had opened the gate. They had come for him. He screamed and he died.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more similar horror stories.